Hey guys, Tina here. Today I'm coming to you with my thoughts and opinions on The Empire of Storms by Sarah J. Maas, which is book 5 in her Throne of Glass series. This video is going to be full of spoilers. There's not going to be a non-spoilery part because I just don't feel like doing that, and there's hardly anything I can tell you without spoiling this book. So anyways, if you haven't read the book, if you're interested in it, definitely don't watch and go read it. It's a fun series, so don't waste your time here. Anyways, this book is really heavy, so I'm not going to be holding it up the whole time because I'm way too lazy for that. And yes, let's just get into my thoughts and opinions. So first off, I love this book. It was so action-packed. There was hardly any, slower chapters, to catch your breath. There was always something going on. There was a lot of world building. We get to explore a lot more of the continent. There's so many new characters, or old ones, depending on whether or not you've read The Assassin's Blade by now, that were showing up. And just my opinion, definitely go read The Assassin's Blade before this one if you haven't yet and are for some reason watching this video. But yeah, I really just enjoyed the adventure of it all. It was really, an adventurous book, and I loved it. The beginning of this book surprised me a bit because starting off I didn't know where it was going to go. We just knew that Aileen and her court were going north so she can become the Queen of Terrasen. And when they meet Darrow and the rest of that gang, and he says, no, we do not want you as our queen. I was a bit surprised because I guess I just naturally assumed that she would be that, and but all in all, it sort of made sense for him to, not want her to be his queen, because they hardly know anything about her, and what they do know is, not really glowing recommendation. She was raised by, the king of assassins to be an assassin, and from their point of view, she enjoyed a life of luxury in Rifthold, and she dressed prettily. She enjoyed good stuff, good food, everything. Enjoyed life there. They obviously don't know necessarily about her death to Arabin, or later on Sam's death to Arabin that kind of held her there, I think. And of course, she was even immature. I don't think she was even ready at that point to become the queen of anything except, stupidity. But that's what they see, and I don't necessarily disagree with them, because at some point she might have, been able to go to Terrasen and, fight for her people there, and she never, at least from what we see, she never, showed any desire to do that until the Era of Fire, basically. So that's one point. And although I think that he's a bit harsh because she was a kid, so it's hard to expect her to do what he wasn't able to do, basically save her kingdom and people when she was an actual kid, when she was kidnapped and raised as an assassin. It's really immature on his part as well to assume that. But seeing as Darrow has his own objective, it's not really surprising that he decided to go, to take this path regarding Aileen. What I loved most about this book is the cast of characters, and it's such a huge cast that, and I loved, I think basically every one of them. And yeah, it was just such a huge cast, and aside from that one prominent character from the previous books that was missing, and I'm going to address later, it was really, there were so many people and characters in this book that it was astonishing. So yeah, I didn't expect that to actually be the case. And some we know already, some we have learned about in passing, from previous books. And definitely, the Assassin's Blade here comes into play a lot because a lot of those characters came back, and it's interesting to see them respond to Aileen and her requests, that they come and help her. And I really, as I said already, I really loved all the characters, and I just love seeing them together because they actually make a really powerful army, and not necessarily enough to defeat the enemy, but I think it would be hard not to, because I think that people, if they saw them, just ordinary people would just rally around them, and we'll see actually what happens in the next book. But still, what I did find a bit, what bothered me a bit, but not that much, is that all these characters are really powerful, and they all have each has their own kind of magic, and you don't know the limits of that magic, which, you know, being a fan of Brandon Sanderson, when you know that magic has its limits, you know, here it seemed that, you know, Aileen could do anything, you know, until her power was just, you know, diminished because she used it so much. But aside from that, and, you know, it took a lot for her to be without her power and to empty her power or whatever. And aside from that, you don't really know what the limits are. She can basically do anything from what we saw, and I found it a bit, you know, that's easy, kind of like, you know, Deus Ex Machina kind of thing, you know, because, oh, there's Eileen, she's gonna solve the problem, which, you know, it's a bit easy for me, I think, you know. And but aside from that, I also kind of missed having a character that has no power, you know, which Cole was great because he was basically the only human, you know, in this story. And they, you know, even Eileen, she's part witch, right? And you know, and they all have these powers, and there's just no humans there, and it's kind of sad because I think an ordinary human would be, you know, just a nice, you know, mix into this whole powerful human, superhumans kind of stuff, you know. What I didn't necessarily like is the dynamic between couples. What I like is that females are really powerful, you know, it's that kind of book when females are really strong, and I like that. I just don't kind of feel that, you know, now that they're all basically, you know, couples, the dynamic between the male and female is kind of unbalanced, I think. I think that just women are in control, and I don't like that. And I don't, you know, I wouldn't like it if just, you know, the guys were in control. But I think that sort of females here have all the decision making, you know, and they do all the decision making, and the guys just, you know, better follow along. Even though we hear a lot of complaining about territorial males, but I just like my couples to be on equal footing. That's it, you know. You know, we discuss and then we decide and things like that. Not, you know, just, you know, that they're kind of not equals in a relationship. That's what I don't like in any book or real life or anywhere. But, you know, I kind of felt that that was the case here a bit. Now, regarding Kale, I want to address that. So he was absent from this book, and you know, given the amount of characters that were in this book, it was not necessarily that I missed him, because I didn't. I mean, he's not one of my favorite characters, and I'm pretty sure that Sarah has a plan as to why he's gone. We know that he has gone to the southern continent to get healed, and when he comes back, I'm pretty sure he's going to have a more prominent role. But what I wanted to address is the fact that people keep talking about the character change between Crown of Midnight and Air of Fire, when Selena's and Kale's characters changed. I think that's, as in real life, you know, things happen to us, events happen, and they change us. I mean, honestly, if you knew me 4 years ago, you would not recognize me, because I'm pretty much a different person right now than I was back then. Things happen that, you know, change us, and it can be done in a short period of time. And what happened to them with, you know, her losing her best friend, and, you know, him realizing and being sort of part of that, and realizing who she is and all that, I think those were, you know, events enough that, you know, they would change. And also she started growing up, which is great. I think that, you know, the training that she went through with Rowan did a lot of that. So honestly, I don't mind the change. I didn't even notice it, honestly, because the thing is, I prefer, you know, how she is now. Not that I agree with all of her actions, but, you know, I definitely prefer her now that she's a bit more mature, a bit more responsible than back then, when she was just a loudmouth and, you know, doing showing off basically. And you know, I mean, it's a book, things change, and I didn't really care about that. But I think that, you know, Kale, when he comes back, I just sometimes don't know how to pronounce his name. When he comes back, I think it's, you know, he's going to be a prominent character again, so yeah. So the end of the book really reminded me of A Court of Mist and Fury, which I know I'm not the only one that noticed. We have a few similarities. The first one, and the most obvious to me, was, you know, the fact that, well, Aileen and Rowan got married, and they're mates, and, you know, there was this, you know, she didn't want to tell him, and he, you know, he knew but didn't want to know, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. And how we find out about the marriage, it was sort of really similar to how things happened in A Court of Mist and Fury. There's also, you know, Maeve kidnapping Aileen, which is sort of similar to how you know, Feyre had to go with Tamlin at the end of A Court of Mist and Fury. But yeah, I mean, it's the same author, so I think things like that might happen, especially when it's sort of in a similar world. But yeah, it was interesting, and I have to say that I didn't enjoy this end as much as I did with A Court of Mist and Fury. You know, but yeah. Just to end this up, I want to, you know, explore some of what I hope happens in the next book, and that is, I hope that a third of these characters are dead, honestly. Not that I don't like them or anything like that, but what I do expect is a huge battle, and it would be realistic that some of them would be dead. And yeah, I wouldn't even mind if Aileen was dead, honestly, because I don't think she would be a good queen. You know, she's, as we saw throughout this book, and what's Adian especially was really annoyed with, is that she always keeps things to herself. She doesn't share her plans, she just makes them, and when things happen and the rest of her court finds out, you know, yeah, I made some plans and whatever, you don't need to know, which is not how a ruler should rule, I guess. You know, you should listen to your subjects, see what they want, and then, you know, try to work things out, and she never does that. We did see at the end that she sort of connected and told her plans to Lysandra, but aside from that, yeah, nothing really, you know, she doesn't have the characteristics of a good queen, I think. So honestly, I wouldn't mind if she was dead, and a few of others as well. So those were all my thoughts and opinions on this book. Definitely let me know down in the comments whether or not you agree. Please like, comment and subscribe, and see you in my next video. Bye!